The knock on William Carter's door was sharp, deliberate, and carried that false authority that instantly set his nerves on edge. When he opened it, two men in navy polo shirts with HOA security stitched on the chest stood on his porch. One carried a clipboard like it were a badge of power. The other leaned against the railing with his arms folded, smirking. "Sir," the clipboard man began, voice dripping with condescension. "We've had complaints. Your lawn doesn't meet the neighborhood standards. That's a violation, $500 fine." William blinked. He had just mowed yesterday. His lawn was spotless, trimmed sharper than a golf course. Before he could respond, the smirker added, "And that black SUV in your driveway doesn't belong here. We'll ticket that too unless you move it." Neighbors peeked from behind curtains. The two men spoke louder, enjoying the performance. William's jaw tightened. He wasn't just being fined for nonsense. He was being humiliated. Because he was black. Because they assumed they could. What the fake HOA police didn't know? William Carter wasn't just some guy with a nice house. He was a Secret Service agent, trained to dismantle threats exactly like this. And today, the enforcers had picked the wrong man. William Carter, 35, carried himself with quiet strength. At 6'1" and 210 pounds of disciplined muscle, his presence alone demanded respect. His clean-shaven face, close-cropped fade, and sharp brown eyes gave him an intensity that people usually noticed instantly. But in the suburbs, some people didn't see William. They just saw a black man they didn't think belonged. He had moved into the quiet cul-de-sac 6 months ago with his wife and 5-year-old daughter. He kept his lawn immaculate, his home pristine, his family polite. He worked unpredictable hours. Government work, he told the curious few who asked, and drove a black SUV that neighbors whispered about. The whispers grew, and now they had turned into action. The HOA police weren't real officers. They were two self-appointed enforcers, neighbors who printed badges off the internet and used them to bully. They loved flexing fake power over new residents, especially anyone who looked different. Today, William was their target. They chose him because they thought he was easy. But William wasn't easy. He wasn't a pushover. His real job? Protecting. Diplomats, presidents, and top officials under the banner of the United States Secret Service. His life had been forged in discipline, in combat training, in spotting real threats before they even spoke. And now he stood on his porch being treated like a criminal for daring to exist in a neighborhood he'd worked hard to buy into. He was calm, but inside the storm was building. The men didn't lower their voices. In fact, the one with the clipboard, a stocky white man in his 50s with a red face and thinning hair, raised it so the neighbors across the street could hear. "You people think you can just move in, do whatever you want. This isn't that kind of neighborhood." William froze. "You people." His daughter peeked through the blinds behind him, eyes wide. He stepped to block her view. The smirker, tall, wiry, mid-40s with sunglasses he didn't take off, laughed under his breath. "Better pay up, buddy, or we can escalate this. We've got friends on the city board." William tilted his head, voice low and even. "This is harassment. You're not officers. You have no authority here." The clipboard snapped shut with a clap. "You think you're smart? Fine. Let's make this official." He pulled out a fake citation, filled in William's address, and waved it in his face like a traffic ticket. Neighbors began stepping outside now, phones out, recording. The men puffed up bigger, enjoying their audience. The wiry one jabbed a finger at William's SUV. "Bet that's stolen. Guys like you drive cars like that all the time. Maybe we should call the real cops, huh?" William's patience thinned. "Guys like you. Stolen." The words sliced deeper than they realized. "Call them," William said flatly. They weren't expecting that. The red-faced one smirked wider, emboldened. "Oh, we will. And let's see what they think when they find out." "You're not supposed to be here," his voice carried. The message was clear. They wanted him shamed, maybe even arrested. William stood still, silent. He'd learned in his line of work that sometimes silence had more power than words. But he also knew how quickly situations like this spiraled. and he wasn't about to let these two men drag his name through the mud in front of his daughter. Inside, his pocket, his fingers brushed the leather of his ID case. Heavy, embossed, undeniable. Not yet. He'd wait. He'd let them dig the hole deeper. The fake officers dialed their phones theatrically. Within minutes, a real police cruiser rolled. Down the street, lights flashing. The neighbors crowded closer. This was the spectacle they craved. A black man cornered by authorities. The officer stepped out, hand on his belt. "What seems to be the issue here?" The red-faced man rushed forward. "Officer, thank God. This man's violating HOA standards. Illegal vehicle, refusing to comply. We're just trying to keep the neighborhood safe." The cop frowned, looking between William and the two men. Something wasn't adding up. William finally spoke, voice deep, steady. "Officer, these men are impersonating security. They've harassed me on my own property, and now they're wasting your time." The wiry one scoffed. "Don't listen. To him, he's lying. Look at him," the crowd murmured. Tension snapped tighter. William exhaled slowly. Enough was enough. He reached into his pocket, flipped open the black leather case, and held it up. The gold badge gleamed in the sun. The lettering was unmistakable. United States Secret Service. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The officer's posture snapped straight, hand instantly off his belt. "Sir, Agent Carter," the officer corrected himself. "My apologies." The clipboard fell from the red-faced man's hand. The wiry one's smirk evaporated. William's voice cut like steel. "You impersonated authority. You tried to humiliate me in front of my daughter, in front of my neighbors. Do you know what that is? It's a federal crime." Silence. Heavy, crushing silence. The officer turned to the two men. "You're both coming with me. Right now." The neighbors' phones stayed up, but now they weren't recording William. They were recording the fake officers being cuffed. As the cruiser pulled away, the cul-de-sac buzzed with disbelief. The enforcers who once strutted like kings now sat in the back seat, humiliated and exposed. William stood tall on his porch, his daughter clutching his hand. He bent down to her level, voice soft. "You see, sweetheart, people will try to treat you like you're less. But you never forget who you are. The truth always wins." Across the street, the neighbors who once whispered about his SUV now whispered something else. Respect, fear, maybe even shame. By nightfall, the videos were online. Fake HOA cops arrested trended in local feeds. But the part that spread the furthest wasn't just the arrests. It was the moment William flashed that badge, calm and unshaken, and turned humiliation into power. Because racism always builds a fragile house. And truth knocks it down. Every single time. If this story outraged you, hit like. If it inspired you, hit subscribe for more powerful stories. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done if this happened in your neighborhood?